What's up, everyone? Today I wanted to do another entry in my personal Hall of Fame. I began this series last year with Children of Men. Now I want to include another film that holds a special place in my heart, and that is Menace to Society, directed by the Hughes brothers, Albert and Allen. The picture was released on May 26, 1993. It tells the story of a young man named Kane, an 18-year-old who lives in the projects of Los Angeles. I was 13 when I saw this movie for the first time, and it left such a lasting impact on me. I have seen it at least 15 times. I know most people talk about Boys in the Hood by John Singleton and Do the Right Thing by Spike Lee as being landmark films during the same time frame, and those are amazing pieces of art as well. However, what I think makes Menace stick out more for me is its unflinching look at what life was like for African Americans during that time. Boys in the Hood had an optimism and hope to it. Menace to Society tells the story completely straight with no wiggle room for false sentimentality, and that's why I prefer it slightly more. It has a raw quality that has never left my mind. This film has narration throughout by the main character, Kane, giving us insight into his mindset and how he sees the world he lives in. Kane is not a bad person at heart. He just lives a life where he knows nothing else but drugs, guns, violence, and unfortunately, he and his friends live in a place where no one outside of that community cares. The opening sequence of the film is remarkable in not only the way it is shot, but how it sets up the rules of the place we are visiting, as well as two of the most prominent personalities in the picture. We start in a liquor store where Kane and his friend O-Dog are buying beer. The store operators are Asian and have judgmental eyes on the two men from the moment they enter the store. Within the first 30 seconds of the opening, you can sense the hostility so strongly it can be cut with a knife. After an offhand comment from one of the liquor store operators, they are both shot dead by O-Dog, who then steals the surveillance tape. Kate is in shock over the whole situation. We then quickly get a flashback sequence of Kane as a very young child, living with his parents who are more concerned with their drug habits and spending time with their friends than they are with raising their own child. What makes this flashback sequence so incredible to me is how the camera is low angled every time we follow young Kane. It puts us in the perspective of the child and how he is seeing drug usage, alcohol drinking, and many other things just be commonplace in his life. It's the camera showing us that his value system is being absorbed inside his mind, so we sympathize immediately that being exposed to this life at such a young age is likely why he sees the world the way he does. His father is played by Samuel L. Jackson. It's a bit cameo for him, but he plays a scary man who literally shoots someone at a poker table over something that seems pointless. When you combine the flashback sequences with Kane's reaction to the shooting in the liquor store, it allows us to see that he is not a bad person, just a product of his environment. It's the classic nature versus nurture discussion. Are we products of our own environment? We learned that Kane's parents died when he was young, not too far after the flashback we saw, and he was raised by his grandparents, who are very religious folks. The story fully kicks into gear right when Kane graduates from high school and attends a party where someone close to him is gunned down in a carjacking attempt. It is at this point in the film where Kane decides to cross the line of violence. He had never killed anyone before, but he decides to go over that edge in order to avenge who he lost. All isn't hopeless for Kane, though, as two of his friends are moving to Kansas and they want him to join. He also has a girl named Ronnie, who was the girlfriend of his mentor, who is now in prison. She also cares for him. Ronnie has a young son who reminds Kane and us of how he was when he was a child. Ronnie does not want her child to grow up the same way all of them did, and she is a good mom. Ronnie is played by Jada Pinkett Smith, and I mentioned her when I reviewed Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight. I think she seems like a genuinely awful person in real life. But I do really like her in this film. She is the voice of reason for Kane, the one anchor he can latch onto to keep him grounded in a reality that could get him out of this terrible situation and into a better life, if he is willing to open his eyes and do just that. But the question is, can Kane look beyond the only world he has ever known and see a future where he can be safe and or successful? The performances in this film are all amazing, but Lorenz Tate is the one who stands out for me. His character does not give a shit about right or wrong, and will shoot or hurt anyone who gets in his way. He is younger than Kane, but his moral compass is completely non existent. It is a chilling portrayal of a young man who is lost in a world that is likely going to take his life someday. It reminds me of Joe Pesci's performance in Goodfellas in that unhinged way where things could just explode at any given moment. Everyone knows that Tupac was originally cast in this film to play the character Sharif, the peacekeeping friend of the group. While I love Tupac as an actor in films like Poetic Justice, Above the Rim, Juice, and Gang Related, I don't know if he could have portrayed Sharif better than the actor who ultimately played him did. Based on reports and interviews done in the intervening years since this film, I know that Tupac felt the character was too one dimensional and it led to creative differences and eventually a physical altercation with the Hughes brothers. I don't think this film was about three dimensional characters all that much to begin with, except for Kane. This is a broad brushstroke kind of film when it comes to characterization. We don't need to have full insight into what makes all these characters tick. It's not that kind of movie. It's the kind of movie where we are observing the behaviors and the environment they all live in. I like what and who the Hughes brothers ultimately went with here, but I still love Tupac. There's a great sequence later in the film where Kane is in a classroom with a teacher and Sharif, and you can see the conflicted nature in his face, unsure of who he would be beyond the life he is living. I can see how divided he feels, but also if you look at it from a bird's eye view, the film's inevitable conclusion is one of the character's own making, and that's what makes it so powerful. I love how this film doesn't blame one particular person or group for the living conditions that are portrayed in the film. All of them are products of a system and a culture that everyone contributed to. There's police brutality in the picture from white cops, there's carjacks that go wrong. It's all tragic and shows that everything is to blame. It does not romanticize anyone or anything. It stays true to the realities of the story and the world. I compare this film in many ways to Martin Scorsese's Mean Streets from 1973 in the way it shows me a neighborhood I've never lived in before and characters I've never met, but it helps me understand their situations and hope that they all get out safely. The last thing I want to mention is the soundtrack for this film, which introduced me to hip hop legends like Too Short, MC8, DJ Quick, etc. I own this soundtrack on CD, and I absolutely love it. It fits the mood of the story perfectly, has some bangers that I still listen to today. I can't compliment this soundtrack enough. Menace to Society is a landmark film for me. It isn't exactly a movie that makes you feel good after you've seen it, but it is informational, dramatic, powerful, and gives you a peek into the lives of African Americans during the 1990s. If you haven't seen this film, I can't recommend it enough. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, for all the reasons I mentioned and so many more. It's a heartbreaking film, but one that needed to be made, and I'm so glad the Hughes brothers made it and made it this well. And for a feature directorial debut, it is one of the strongest first films I have ever seen in my life. My only issue is I wish it was about 20 minutes longer so I could have seen Kane's relationship with his mentor more. But that's really the only small gripe I have with this film. You owe it to yourself to please watch this masterpiece. I give Menace to Society 4 stars. I saw this movie at just the right age to understand its meaning and also helped me open my eyes to what other cultures go through and inspired me to hope that we can all eventually come together as humans and help each other. Even in the bleakest of places, there are always great people who deserve a chance to live the same life of prosperity we all do. A great film, everyone. Please check it out. And that is my review. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this, please like and subscribe. Here's links to my other videos. Follow me on social media if you like. And until next time, I am Ghost.